first, hundreds of teachers and support staff at 20 schools in the West Midlands have held another day of strike action today. They're all run by an academy trust called the Arthur Terry Learning Partnership, who have schools across Birmingham, Coventry and North Warwickshire. Today was day 3 of a 9-day walkout. Claire is a member of the catering staff.
There's quite a few members that have had at-risk letters. Obviously, if they've all had them, that means that they're all at risk of redundancy. They're saying that they're being relocated, but then schools are overstaffed. So how is there any other jobs anywhere else for them to go?
The Arthur Terry Trust say the need to reduce staff numbers was the result of significant overstaffing, which had been masked by an accounting error in 2022 to 2023, and that final plans are yet to be consulted on. Well, let's speak to Chris Denson, who is a teacher on strike today. He's also the Coventry Secretary of the National Education Union. Afternoon to you, Chris.
Hi, Trish.
OK, well, I can tell by your voice you sound pretty frustrated. Just explain why staff have walked out.
Well, I think the situation for our members is really severe. We've had a situation where, as was reported there was a financial mistake that happened at the trust. This was obviously not any fault of teachers and support staff, yet the reality is that we're having a threat of around 100 job losses. Now, the reason why our members feel deeply frustrated is we know that in schools, every time you lose teachers, every time you lose support staff, what it means is that there are much more difficulties for the children that we teach. It will inevitably lead to higher class sizes, less support for children. So when our members deeply care about the education of the children that we have in front of us, we want to stand up and we want to protect that. So we know that there needs to be cuts, but one of the things that we pointed to is that there is a significantly large central spend in our trust. If there are going to be cuts made, that's where we should target it rather than cutting frontline staff. So teachers should be saved, support staff should be saved, because we know they make such a difference to the children that we have in front of us.
Definitely. We know the importance of teaching. I was a teacher myself many years ago. But look, the trusts say they need to balance the books. And, there was an error. So, don't you feel any sympathy towards them?
Well, we obviously have sympathy for the situation that trusts are in general. We know that the funding settlement from government is very, very difficult for trusts. But obviously, the thing that we are pointing towards in this dispute is the fact that the central spend in our trust is far higher than it is in other trusts. And what we've said to the trust is we can work with you on that. We can look for areas where that can be cut, look for areas where that can be trimmed, before we look at losing support staff, before we look at losing teachers, because we know that will be detrimental to the children in the long term.
What do you mean by central spend? What are you actually talking about? Where's this big surplus of money that's sat there that could be used to pay for this extra staff? What exactly do you mean?
What we mean is the system as it is set up now is once trusts are set up, schools have to pay an amount, we call it a top slice, to be a part of those trusts, but also they pool centralised spending together. So all of the central spends for HR, for catering, for legal services, all of those sorts of things which would have previously been done by the local authority are now done centrally by trusts. And the reason why we think that redundancy shouldn't be happening at this stage is because it's become apparent that the central spend in our trust is significantly larger than others. So we want to work with the trust. We actually had very positive talks with them earlier this week on Monday, and we're hopeful that we can work with them around that.
What about the kids? What about the pupils? What about the parents that are having to juggle and sort things out because their children are at school? This is day 3 of a 9-day walkout.
Yeah, we know it's really difficult. No teacher, no member of support staff wants to be out on strike, but we recognise the difficulty in if they have those jobs cut will mean damage to their children's education for a much longer time. And what we've actually seen on the picket lines is huge parental support for our campaign, massive parental support. In fact, we've got a demonstration in Victoria Square on Thursday, 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, and we already have a huge number of parents who said they're going to come along and support that protest.
And that's great for the parents that can do that, but for the parents that need to work and they can't come down to do a protest, what would you say to them?
Well, we would say that they should try to speak to their school, try to speak to their trust, to encourage them to find a resolution, which won't mean their teachers, their support staff losing their jobs. We all want to find a route through this. Nobody wants to be out on the picket lines. We want to find a way through it. But that needs to be a negotiated settlement.
OK, 9 days of strike action planned. What then? What if things don't change? What's the next plan, Chris?
Well, already a further 9 have been called, so there are 18 in total in at the moment. We hope that it won't get to that. As I said, we had very positive talks with the Trust yesterday, in fact. We know that they are talking to the Department for Education, and they will come back to us this week. If there are very positive talks, then those strikes don't have to happen. Nobody wants that to be in place. We want to find a resolution where our members don't have to lose their jobs, the children don't have to use teachers, support staff, and we can move forward together. But
potentially we're looking at 18 days of strike action if things don't work out.
Hopefully not. But as I say, our members feel really strongly that the potential impact to those children's education is far greater in the long run than the short-term impact of strike action. We obviously don't want to put parents in those situations, but I think most parents have been incredibly supportive on the picket line because they can see what we're standing up for.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Chris Denson, a teacher on strike today, also Commentary Secretary of the National Education Union.